What's up, guys? Let's go to the garden. What, baby?
I'm going to.
You going inside? What's the plan here?
Just playing. He was checking the fit to make sure that the posts were far enough apart. They're far enough. I'm gonna cut this section off and make it flush.
Yeah.
And we'll bolt all these on, and then we're gonna paint everything white.
It's gonna be really pretty.
I thought that looked really cool.
Yeah.
These are actually salvaged. I happened to be at a job that my brother was doing, and he's like about to toss all this stuff out, and I was like, that is repurposed gold. So I brought them home for this exact job.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really neat little fence here. Very cottagey. I just peeked in the greenhouse and look at this. Bintern brought me a snake plant. Isn't that so sweet? He pulled this off of a plant that he got from his mom, and it was exploding, so he brought me a little piece of it. Isn't that so beautiful? And my boys picked daffodils out of the yard, which they weren't really supposed to do, but it was sweet, so I put them in this pot. Oh, one tiny boy. Hey, bud, what's up? It's so much nicer in here, huh?
Yes.
Tonight is the last cold night on the forecast. We're actually right now putting up the other row covers. I'm standing in the greenhouse because it's really windy out there. I'm about to show you what we're doing, but I'm telling you now. Yes. Huh?
Are we going to plant tomatoes this day?
No, not this day. It's not warm enough for tomatoes yet. And I have all these brassicas behind me that really need to go out, but I was kind of waiting on this last forecasted cold night to pass. Our low tonight is forecasted to be about 22 degrees. For the brassicas that are already out and acclimated to that, they'll be fine. They're undercover. I even have some that are not undercover that'll be fine with that temperature because they're acclimated to it. But these guys have been in the nice warm greenhouse, and I would rather not move them out when they're gonna have a really cold day, especially since we're just putting these row covers up, so it's not like the soil has been warmed all day undercover. Sunset's in an hour and a half, and it's gonna get really cold. So I'm going to transplant all of those out in the morning, and I'm really excited to do it. One thing to just be super clear on so that there's no confusion, you are seeing me move these plants directly out to beds without any talk of hardening off. Hardening off is a process when you are moving plants that are inside some controlled environment outside, basically acclimating them to that outside environment. And it's very, very important. You can absolutely kill your plants if you do not harden them off properly. Basically, take plants and you sit them out in the elements for a little while every day, and you extend it out. Usually you can have plants like completely hardened off in like a week. I usually like to start in like the evening, not during the like harsh midday sun, but in the evening I'll put them out for a few hours, put them back up, and then the next day I'll give them a little bit extra time to where before I'm planting them they're sitting out all day, completely used to being out in the elements. The reason why you're not seeing me do that with these is that I'm actually moving them out undercover. Since I'm putting them into the rows, it's not exactly the same as if I were moving them out directly into the elements. The other thing is that I've been running fans and leaving the door open. This glass greenhouse is it allows a little more like direct sunlight than say having them in my other plastic greenhouse, especially if you're planting things inside and you've got plants that you're moving in from grow lights out to the elements. You definitely need to harden those off because they will die. But I've actually had my plants get sun damage when I've moved them out of my greenhouses and I didn't harden them off properly, or they can shock really bad. So you definitely want to take the time to do that process, and I just wanted to make sure that I said that while you guys are seeing me not do that with these plants. I know that with these plants it'll be okay because the greenhouse they're in, because they're going under row covers, and because the way that they've been handled up until this point, they'll be fine. But in most cases, you really want to take the time to do that. Guys, can we just talk about this little detail in my greenhouse? Can you show everybody our hose? So I actually didn't know Maya was gonna run water into the greenhouse until he did. And I actually ordered this hose, which is like just a little stretchy hose. I don't know, I have no idea to the quality of it. I just found something on Amazon that would work. But yeah, so I have this hose in my greenhouse that I now get to water my plants with this sprayer. How cool is that? Total game changer as far as watering spring seedlings. That hose in this greenhouse is one of those things that I am so excited about. And I feel so spoiled to have you guys. Because when I get like a hose in my greenhouse, I can be like, guys, I got a hose in the greenhouse, and you'll be like, that's amazing, that's the best, we're so excited for you. Whereas, you know, like for a long time I lived my life that I didn't have just like a ton of gardeners in my life, and so I would be just losing my mind excited over something, and they'd be like people in my life would be like, oh, that's so good for you, that's awesome, like, and I just knew they didn't know how good it was, but now I have you, and you know how good that is. Okay, so we did a video a couple weeks ago showing you guys how we put these row covers up, and essentially what we ran into was a problem because our beds are made from reclaimed material. The inside is this tin, and these were snagging really bad, and we were just having a hard time with getting the design right. We're using this rebar to hold it down, but it's not super accessible. So we just decided to kind of rethink it. We went ahead and ordered some wider row covers. These were the 6 foot wide, and we went ahead and got the 12 foot, and we just redesigned this. And now we're actually gonna use this fabric out back on the ground because it won't be snagged on anything, it'll be fine to put over a row. So we won't be wasting this. And what we've done here is actually build frames that go over the beds entirely instead of right inside the bed. Tonight's gonna be cold, and the plants in these beds probably will appreciate the little blanket tonight for the most part. At this point, most of these row covers are gonna be primarily for pest control. We're gonna plant a lot of these brassicas in, which in the spring, we deal a lot with like moth caterpillars and stuff like that on brassicas, and I'm hoping to avoid that and having them covered through the spring. And we're talking about the possibility of planting our squash under cover also, because we deal with squash bugs so much. The only issue with planting something like squash under cover is that it needs to be pollinated, and squash is typically pollinated by insects, and so if you're doing something to keep the bad insects off, you're also keeping like the bees off. For brassicas, that's not a problem because your brassicas don't need to be pollinated unless you're trying to save the seeds. If you're just harvesting the leaves off your kale, it's fine to keep the insects off of them entirely. So we're gonna go ahead and maybe experiment with the squash under the row covers and just hand pollinate because last year we had such horrible squash bugs. So right now we're taking down the old structures here. Y'all can see my little plant babies coming up. Got some kales and lots of these are more kales, these little sprouts. Oh my goodness, this mud is miserable. We're giving the kids call these their muddy boots. Instead they're mud boots, they're muddy boots. And they are muddy. We're giving our muddy boots a run for the money. So I've actually got some weeds coming up in here, but a lot of these are seedlings that I've planted.
But if we want to, we can come back in and go the other way.
No, I think that's cool. Didn't hear me saying how he put this string on diagonally to be able to just lift the fabric up and hold it. See, we've got the pipe coming down over the beds, and this way we're just going to bring the fabric down and we'll secure it along the ground.
We're going to save these to use out back.
Yeah, I told him that. Good job, Ben.
Muscles.
I've got to go this evening and buy a dress for my little sister's wedding, which is this weekend. And I really hope I remember to change my shoes. So often I end up in town wearing like mud-caked shoes. Or like I'll go in and I'll have like tomato tar covering my fingers, or like dirt underneath my nails or something like that. Like, so, I don't know. So yeah, I was just thinking about it while I was sloshing through that mud. I was like, change your shoes, change your shoes, change your shoes. Like making little mental post-it notes all in my brain so that I don't find myself in a cute little dress shop with mud-caked bogs on. Hey bud, what's up? There we go. So muddy. Yeah, you can already see that that's going to eliminate a lot of the wind blowing up underneath them. Jeremiah actually called the guys from Growers Solution, where we got these from, and talked to them basically about what we were dealing with. And our circumstance is kind of unique because our beds are so irregular, but he asked him what he thought because of what we were dealing with. And basically his suggestion, like he said that ground contact is important when you're trying to keep the heat in. And so what we could have done was we could have actually brought the arches down inside more. Oh, it's kind of like snowishy. I don't know if that was really snow or if it was kind of like sleet. I don't know if, oh, it's definitely snow. I'm happy about it. It's just flurries. I don't like the sleet, but I like the snow. So anyway, we could have brought the arches down into the beds more so that we could have come in full contact with the ground or with the bed to basically keep all the cool air from blowing through it. But that would have cut into our growing space. And so we decided to do it this route. And he said he thought that it sounded like a good idea. So we'll see. Obviously, it would be more of an issue, like it would be more of a concern if this was to really help against the cold. But since it's kind of past that, we're not quite so stressed about it. I'm going back in here where it's warm. Oh, so much better. Well, I think this may be a little bit of a short vlog, and I just don't have anything else to say. I've got this awful head and chest thing going on. You could probably smell the essential oils and elderberry syrup from where you are. There's been so much of that going on. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I just wanted to share a moment of our day with you. I bless you. Until next time.